Hey, Heartbeat Michaela. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you guys. We have made it to the middle of the week. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I pray you all received sweet sleep last night, woke up with bells and whistles on, ready to take on this new day. It's a day we've never seen before. It's a day we'll never see again. But it is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a good morning. Did you all see that game last night? Oh my goodness, it's a good morning. Boston did their thing. Woo, it's a good morning. Okay, but let me get into why we're here, right? It's a good morning. It's a good morning. If you are a Boston fan, it's a good morning. Anyway, welcome to the Gathering of Hearts on this morning. I am Regina Banks, your GPS to wholeness, aka I am the Heart Gatherer. And this morning, your daily dosage is a continuation of what we've been talking about. Do what God told you to do, part 3. Do what God told you to do, part 3. So the last couple of days, we've talked about getting in alignment with the will of God for our lives. Do what God told you to do. Follow the instructions, dream bigger, go deeper, do it again, have an attitude of, nevertheless, at your will, not my will type thing. This is where we have to be. Remember, Simon says, at thy word, I'm going to do it because you said do it. So that's what we need to be. So today, let's talk about do what God told you and how you treat others who may miss the mark. Do what God told you and how you treat others who may miss the mark. So let's look at John, and we're going to look at the woman who was caught in adultery. I'm in John 8, and I'll be kind of like going through verses 1 through 11. And so we know that in this account, Jesus is in the temple with the people, and Jesus is doing what he does. He's teaching, right? And those daggone Pharisees, they brought to him the woman that was caught in adultery. They're like, Jesus, she is caught right in the act of doing the do. And they're like, what you gonna do about it? Moses' law says that she should be stoned, but Jesus, what you gonna do about it? They're trying to trick Jesus. They're trying to tempt him to do something. They're trying to get Jesus to choose between Moses, the law of Moses, versus what he teaches on forgiveness and what he teaches on mercy. So Jesus is cool. Jesus just ignores them. He stoops down and he begins to write in the sand, and he says, those who have whoever is without sin, cast that first stone. Of course, what happens? Nobody does anything. And here we see when he says those without sin cast that stone, here we see it shows the importance of self-reflection, that we should never judge anybody else. We should never cast judgment. In fact, Matthew 7, 1 and 2, it tells us to judge not that you won't be judged. Or in other words, if you judge, God will judge you. He will treat you like you treat others. And so the account goes on to say that he stoops down again. He writes again, those who without sin cast the first stone. Again, nothing happens. These jokers begin to leave. Them daggone Pharisees, they begin to leave one by one because they are convicted by their own conscience. And when we begin to face the reality of our own imperfections, we are reminded just how much we need God, just how much we need God's mercy, just how much we need not to judge others because we have too much stuff on our own. And so what happens in this account? Jesus stood up. He's like, where are your haters? Where are the naysayers? Where are your accusers? She says, listen, Jesus, there's no one here to accuse me. And Jesus says, listen, there's no one here, and I'm not going to accuse you either. But he tells her this. He says, go and sin no more. And so what do we learn from this account? We learn that you could never be too messed up for Jesus. Here, this woman is caught in the act of adultery. Jesus knows that she's done it, but what does he do? He shows her mercy. He gives her some grace, and he tells her to go and sin no more. And that's what he does for us too. And that's what we need to do for others. We need to extend the same grace. We need to extend the same mercy to others that God has extended to us. We don't want God to put all of our mess up on the big screen. No. And so we shouldn't do that to others. We shouldn't judge others. You know, I hate it when I see believers who are now more mature in the faith, how they judge those who are new in the faith. She shouldn't be wearing that short skirt. Well, when you were their age, you wore that short skirt as well. The difference is your tail was not in church, but at least they are in church. I hate it when people start getting on people about men about wearing hats in church. Everybody was not raised correctly. Everybody was not taught manners. Everybody was not taught, how you should honor the holy place of God. Some people, it's their first time in church. And so I know that God wants me whole. We don't play that. Let the word change a person. Just the way the word changed your heart, let the word change somebody else's heart. You have no idea what it took for somebody to get in church. Don't you go opening your mouth telling somebody, take your hat off, do this, cover up, and get them all out of whack. That is not the love of God. And so we're going to do what God told us to do. We're going to extend grace. We're going to extend mercy, just like God did with this woman who was caught in her sin. Even in sin, God still loves us. Even in sin, Jesus is still petitioning God on our behalf. Jesus does not ignore the sin. Let me be clear. Jesus does not ignore the sin, but he shows mercy, offering forgiveness and a new beginning. And that's what he does for all of us. And so we've got to do what God tells us to do. He says, don't you judge, or I'm going to judge you. I'm going to treat you the same way that you have treated those people. And so we want to switch our brains. We want to renew our minds daily and not begin to judge others for their sin, understanding that you're in a sin too, understanding that some of the things that we do is just not on the outside. I tell people all of the time, listen, don't worry. Don't think that I'm perfect. You just can't see my sin, but I got one. All of God's children has one. So Jesus did what God calls us to do, extend grace. So do what God told you to do. Show grace rather than condemnation. Do what God told you to do. Turn from your old ways and live according to God's will. Do what God told you to do. Forgive and focus on the mercy and the transformation that is central to living this life of obedience. That's God's command. Do what God told you to do. Go and sin no more. Hey, listen, that's the daily dosage for today. Do what God told you to do, part 3. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel already, please do so, because there you can find all of your dosages in one place. Follow me on social media platforms, God Wants Me Whole. Visit the website, godwantsmewhole.org. You know how we do this thing. Come on, let's say it together. Say, God wants me whole, and I am. Again, I'm Regina Banks, your GPS to wholeness, aka I am the heart gatherer. I love you guys a bunch. Go out there, have a amazing day. Look out for falling blessings, because they are falling all around you. And if you are available tonight, join us on Walking in Wholeness Wednesday. You need the credentials. Email us at info@godwantsmewhole.org, and we'll get that information right back out to you. Again, do what God told you to do. As you're out and about today, there is no judgment. There is no condemnation. We're going to extend some grace. We're going to extend some mercy. We're going to do like God did for this woman and how he does for us all the time. Go and sin no more. Forgiveness, and allow somebody a fresh start, a new beginning. Remember, God is doing a new thing. Can't you see it? Can't you feel it? It's exciting if you are a believer today. God is doing a new thing and the atmosphere is shifting. Make sure you shift with it and do what God told you to do. That's the last benediction. I'll see you guys in the morning.